You finally receive your Hogwarts letter. Not a dream, not a prank, not something whispered about and never arriving. The envelope is real, thick and creamy, with your name written in emerald ink, and the crest pressed into red wax glints in the sunlight like it's been waiting for you too. You scream, not politely, not quietly. You scream the kind of scream that's been waiting in your chest for years, one only released when the impossible becomes real. You dance around the room, trip over a chair, and clutch the letter to your chest like it's a heartbeat you never knew you were missing. You've waited so long. You've imagined this moment so many different ways, but none of them come close to how it actually feels. You read the list over and over again. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. First year supply list. Cauldrons, robes, a wand of your very own. You stare at the line that reads Ollivanders, makers of fine wands, since 382 BC, and your heart does that weird fluttering thing it does when you're too excited to sit still. You're going shopping to Diagon Alley, and nothing in your life will ever be the same. You step into the Leaky Cauldron, guided by the firm but kind hand of someone older who knows what they're doing, perhaps a parent, or a guardian, or just a mentor assigned to help you on this very important day. The pub is dim and cozy, lit by floating candles and amber sconces that glow with a welcoming hush. The wooden floor creaks softly beneath your feet, and you can smell something like cinnamon and coal smoke mingling in the air. You pass an elderly wizard muttering to his teacup, and a witch whose feathered hat keeps ruffling indignantly every time someone walks by. They glance at you, nod politely, and return to their murmured conversations as if it were nothing strange at all for a wide-eyed new student to be crossing through their world. You're still clutching the parchment, creased now from how tightly you've been holding it. With a few murmured words, the barman who barely blinks at your presence taps a specific brick in the back wall with the tip of his wand. You hold your breath. The bricks begin to rearrange themselves, folding inward like a blooming stone flower, until an arched passageway reveals itself. You step through. On the other side, the world is completely different. You're no longer in a pub tucked away from prying muggle eyes. You're somewhere brighter, louder, impossibly alive. Diagon Alley opens before you like a crooked painting come to life. Shops squeeze themselves into narrow spaces. Signs swing over doorways as if eager to announce themselves. And owls flutter between rooftops, carrying scrolls that emit faint sparks. You pause, taking it all in. To your left, a witch is selling glowing quills that change color with your mood. To your right, a boy slightly older than you is having his robes tugged at by a magical mannequin. Someone's laughing behind you. You think you smell something warm. Treacle tart, or maybe roasted nuts. The street is paved with uneven cobblestones that seem to hum very softly under your steps. Your guide leans in. Best to go to Gringotts first, they say with a knowing smile. Can't buy school robes without a bit of wizard gold. And so, with parchment list folded back into your pocket, you begin walking toward the white marble building at the far end of the alley, where a set of ornate bronze doors gleam in the morning light. The closer you get, the more magnificent and slightly intimidating it becomes. A goblin stands at the entrance in a tiny velvet suit, eyeing each person that passes through. Inside, the ceiling stretches high above, lined with chandeliers. Desks are lined up in rows, each manned by a goblin quill scratching, coin counting, or ledger consulting. You feel very small, but somehow not unwelcomed. The goblin who greets you is barely taller than the counter, but commands the room like a general. His spectacles perch on the end of his nose, and he peers at you as if already aware of how many sickles you carry and what size shoe you wear. You hand him your key passed down from some family vault or arranged just recently, and he examines it with a grumble that somehow still sounds formal. Vault 758, follow grip hook. Another goblin appears beside you, silent until the moment he isn't. This way. You follow him down a narrow corridor that twists downward. The floor grows colder beneath your shoes. Lanterns flicker to life overhead without anyone touching them. Then you reach the carts. Grip hook gestures. You climb into the rickety minecart, trying to hide how tightly you grip the sides. It smells like iron and cold, like secrets and speed. With a sharp tug, the cart lurches forward, and you're off. The tunnels flash by in streaks of stone and torchlight. At one point, the track dips and turns at such an angle that your stomach flips. Water rushes somewhere in the distance, echoing like a far-off beast breathing in its sleep. The wind tugs at your hair, your sleeves, your thoughts. You laugh once, mostly from shock. Eventually, the cart jerks to a halt. Grip hook hops out like it's nothing. And you follow more slowly, your legs still arguing with gravity. He unlocks the vault with a motion so smooth it might be muscle memory. The door groans open to reveal a stack of coins, galleons, sickles, and kynutes glinting in the lantern light. You let out a small breath. There's something about seeing your school year's future in coin form that feels surreal. These are the funds that will turn into robes, wands, quills, and books with titles too long to remember. You collect what you need in a small cloth pouch offered by Griphook, who seems to enjoy your awe without directly acknowledging it. The vault door seals behind you with a deep, metallic sigh, and soon you're back in the cart, whizzing through tunnels that now feel a little more familiar, like you've earned your place beneath the marble halls of wizarding finance. When you step back into the daylight, Diagon Alley feels even brighter, more welcoming. Now you have your list and your money. Now the adventure can truly begin. The first stop. Robes. You're ushered into Madame Malkin's robes for all occasions, where the bell over the door makes a sound like a chime dipped in butter. The shop is narrow, but deep, with bolts of fabric that seem to shift shades in the light, and headless mannequins rotating slowly as they model student wear. First year, dear Madame Malkin calls, emerging from behind a velvet curtain. She wears plum-colored robes and a measuring tape that slithers around her neck like a friendly snake. You nod, and she pats a low stool with a smile. Hop up, then, as she begins measuring your arms, shoulders, and inseam. The tape moves of its own accord, stretching, tightening, scribbling something onto a floating notepad nearby. You try to stay still, but the measuring tape is assertive. It seems to have opinions about your elbows. Another stool squeaks beside you. A boy about your age climbs up, hair tousled, expression caught between bored and nervous. He gives you a sideways glance and a small smile. First year, too. You nod again. It's strange how quickly words have deserted you. Maybe it's the shop, or the nerves, or the quiet thrill of being measured for something magical. The boy swings his legs slightly. Do you think we'll be in the same house? You smile, unsure, but it's a nice thought, that you might walk into Hogwarts already knowing someone who sat beside you, shoulder to shoulder, as enchanted fabric pinned itself into place. After several robe fittings, winter, summer, and something that resists swamp fog, you're handed a neatly wrapped bundle and a receipt that folds itself into a paper owl and nests in your bag. The boy waves goodbye as he leaves. You realize you never asked his name. but maybe you'll see him again. You step out into the alley once more, the first item crossed off your list, and a bundle of black robes tucked proudly under your arm. The wand shop is just ahead, and your pulse quickens. The shop front is narrower than you expected, almost like it squeezed itself between two larger buildings when no one was looking. The faded letters above the door read, Ollivanders, makers of fine wands, since 308 BC. You step inside, and the world falls quiet. The space is dim and dust-flecked, but not neglected. It feels reverent, like a library of magic you're not yet fluent in. Wand boxes stretch from floor to ceiling in towering stacks that lean ever so slightly, as if whispering secrets to each other. A single velvet chair sits unused in the corner. The counter is polished but old, and the air smells of varnished wood, parchment, and something faintly electric like thunder in a bottle. No one is in sight at first. You clear your throat. From behind a shelf, a soft rustle, and then a voice. Ah, first year. Are you? A man appears from the shadows, pale-eyed and deliberate in motion, like someone who measures time in wand lengths. He studies you, and somehow you get the sense he's already sorting through boxes in his head. Step forward, he murmurs. You obey. He doesn't ask your favorite color. He doesn't ask your birth date. Instead, he examines your hands, your posture, the slope of your fingers. Then he begins pulling boxes, slim boxes, thick ones, some wrapped in red twine, others sealed with wax. Try this, he says, placing one gently in your palm. It's a fine wand willow, perhaps, with a unicorn hair core. You raise it, uncertain. A lamp explodes in the corner. Not that one, he says, already pulling another from the stack. You go through 3 more, one that emits sparks, one that nearly takes your ear off with a gust of wind, and one that vibrates in your hand like it's trying to escape. And then he hands you a box that looks like it's been waiting a while. Dusty, simple, heavy in a meaningful way. You open it. The wand inside is dark with a subtle spiral grain, the kind of wood that absorbs light instead of reflecting it. You lift it from the velvet and immediately feel something shift, not just in your fingers, but in your chest, like a thread pulling tight in the right direction. The air stirs, shelves creak softly, as if nodding. Somewhere, A wand box slides back into place all on its own. Ollivander watches you with quiet satisfaction. "Yes," he says, "that one." You exhale without realizing you were holding your breath. The wand fits your hand as if it was always part of it, as if it's been waiting for you just as long as you've waited for it. He wraps it in soft tissue, ties the box with a silk ribbon, and hands it back with an almost imperceptible bow. You step out of the shop still holding it, fingers brushing the lid. The alley feels different now, not less magical, but more like something you're finally allowed to be part of. You can't stop smiling. Your next stop is books. But already, you feel more like a wizard. You carry the wand box like a fragile treasure tucked close to your side as you head toward a shop with windows so crammed with books. They look like they're ready to burst. Some of the titles glow. Others hum softly. One very old book in the corner appears to be snoring, its spine rising and falling with gentle puffs of glittering dust. The sign above the crooked green door reads, "Flourish and Blotts, booksellers to the wizarding world." Inside, it's a different kind of chaos. Shelves teeter under the weight of books with long, curling titles. Ladders move of their own accord. A student is arguing with a sentient textbook that keeps closing itself whenever he tries to read it. Somewhere in the back, a bell rings, not because a customer entered, but because a stack of spell theory tomes just collapsed in protest. You step carefully between the shelves, clutching your parchment list. You start with the basics. Magical Theory by Adalbert Waffling. A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration and Standard Book of Spells. Grade 1, the cover of which glows with a soft blue light when you touch it, as if recognizing its new owner. You wander deeper into the store and find yourself in a quiet corner where the shelves seem less busy. Here, the books are older, wiser. You brush your fingers along their spines. One of them flickers, showing a scene of stars moving across the cover like a sky map. Another sighs gently when you pick it up, as if relieved to finally be held. Looking for something in particular, a witch asks softly, appearing beside you. She's one of the shopkeepers, robes dusted in ink, a quill tucked behind her ear. You glance at your list. Just the first year books, you say, your voice nearly lost in the hushed atmosphere. She smiles and guides you to a shelf labeled First Year Essentials, where everything you need sits neatly arranged, waiting. But before you return to the counter, your eyes are drawn to a slim volume tucked awkwardly between two thick tomes. You slide it out. The cover reads, "Curious Charms, and Where They Fizz." It isn't on the list, but the moment you hold it, it crackles with a fizzy warmth in your palms, like ginger ale mixed with magic. You flip through the pages and see playful diagrams, unfinished doodles, and marginalia written by what must have been a very spirited student. You don't know why, but you tuck it under your arm, just in case. At the register, the books ring themselves up with a flutter of parchment. A receipt curls out of the till and folds itself into a tiny paper broom, which hovers gently before dropping into your bag. The shopkeeper smiles again. "You've got a good eye," she says. "That little charm book's a favorite. Belonged to a mischief maker, I think." You exit Flourish and Blotts with your bag heavier, your arms fuller, and your heart a little lighter. You've crossed off another section of your list. The items are tangible now, stacked, packed, and real. And more than that, they smell like stories waiting to be lived. You look at your list. Next up, a cauldron. You follow your parchment map and the growing smell of something metallic and vaguely smoky, until you find yourself in front of a shop with wide open doors and soot-smudged windows. Hanging above it is a brass sign that spins gently in the breeze, etched with the words, "Potage's Cauldron Shop, pewter, brass, and self-stirring available." Inside, the air is thick with the scent of iron, old steam, and just a hint of cinnamon, perhaps from an experimental potion left too close to the heating shelves. Rows upon rows of cauldrons are stacked from floor to ceiling, some as small as teacups, others large enough to nap in. A few of them are humming. One in the corner is rotating slowly on its own, as though it knows it's on display. The shopkeeper is nowhere in sight, but a bell above the counter dings of its own accord when you walk in. Then a voice calls from the back room. First year, pewter, standard. Size? 2. Unless you're feeling adventurous. You let out a small laugh. You start examining the options. The pewter models are straightforward, sturdy, and stamped with the Hogwarts seal plain, but dependable. The brass ones are shinier, reflecting your face in warped, golden curves. And then there's the enchanted selection. One glows faintly blue when you touch it. Another comes with built-in stirring enchantments, though the tag warns may develop personality. Handle with charm. You settle on the standard pewter model after a small debate with yourself and a brief moment of temptation involving a collapsible cauldron that claimed to double as a foot warmer. It's heavier than you expected, and you nestle it carefully into the larger canvas shopping bag you've been dragging along. Next comes the other potion: supplies, ingredients, scales, vials, and a traveling mortar and pestle set. You find them stacked neatly near the back, each item packaged in boxes decorated with old-fashioned lettering. You can't help but read the names aloud as you pack them. Standard glass, files, brass balance scale, beginner's potion, kit, dried nettles, snake fangs, and powdered root of asphodel. One small bottle is labeled simply Essence of Dusk and glimmers like liquid twilight. Not on the list. You leave it where it is, though it seems to blink at you as you walk away. Just as you're turning to leave, a low metallic voice croaks behind you. You freeze. It's the self-stirring cauldron. "By me," it says, stirring its empty basin mournfully. I hum lullabies. You blink. I already picked one. It groans. No one ever wants the musical ones anymore. You smile, both alarmed and oddly touched, and give it a gentle pat. Maybe next time. Outside, the afternoon light is starting to slant golden across the alley. You check your list again, feeling the tug of excitement in your chest. You've got your robes, wand, books, and cauldron. You're over halfway there. Something squawks nearby. You turn just in time to see a small, fuzzy creature zip past your feet, chased by a floating feather duster and a very flustered shopkeeper. The sign above the shop reads, "Magical Menagerie." And just like that, you know exactly where you're going next. The door to the magical menagerie creaks open with a surprisingly elegant chime, high-pitched and shimmery, like a bell that's just learned how to giggle. The shop smells like hay, toasted seeds, and something vaguely herbal. It's not unpleasant, just unmistakably animal-ish in that warm and wiggly way. The space is crammed with cages, baskets, burrows, and aquariums stacked and layered like a jungle of enclosures. There's a soft rustle of movement in every direction, a tapestry of magical life murmuring all at once. You pause near the entrance as a jar of humming insects floats gently by your ear, tethered only by a thin chain of enchanted ribbon. To your left, a set of puff skeins are bouncing softly in a padded pen, purring like sleepy engines. One of them pauses to sneeze, and a glittery cloud bursts from its tiny nose. A witch with copper streaks in her braids and a smudge of something green on her cheek greets you with a wide smile. First year, looking for a companion, or just browsing the chaos? You tell her you're mostly looking. Owls are optional on the supply list, but you're curious. She nods and gestures for you to explore. Watch the pygmy snargs. They've taken to mimicking insults. You wander deeper. One cage holds a litter of baby Neasels, part cat, part something smarter. Their ears twitch in your direction. One narrows its eyes, then seems to approve of you. You bow your head slightly, unsure if that's the right etiquette. Another display features a group of toads, some large and wart-covered, others sleek and glistening like polished river stones. One toad in particular is bright blue and sitting perfectly still on a lily pad that isn't wet. It stares at you, unblinking. You stare back. After a long, quiet moment, it winks. You blink, unsure whether it actually happened. But when you look again, the toad is adjusting its position slightly, almost smug. Nearby, a tank of fire salamanders emits a cozy warmth, their little tails trailing embers. A notice on the glass reads, "Handle with mittens, fireproof, preferably." You spot a girl around your age, giggling softly as a tiny creature climbs up her sleeve. A Krupp puppy, you think, with a forked tail wagging in joyful bursts. She waves, and you wave back. There's something comforting about seeing other first years here too, each finding their way into this strange, extraordinary world. You ask the shopkeeper about the care requirements for owls, and she gives you a small pamphlet titled, "So You've Bought an Owl, and Now It Judges You." The cover features a sketch of a particularly unimpressed barn owl. You don't buy a creature today. Not yet. You tell yourself it's because you need more time to think. But deep down, you know you're waiting for the right moment. And maybe the right set of eyes to find yours again. Still, before you leave, the shopkeeper presses a pouch of puff-skein treats into your hand. "Just in case," she says with a wink. You step outside with a flushed face and a curious glow in your chest. The alley feels softer now, somehow less like a whirlwind, more like a home in the making. The bag at your side rustles with parchment and potions kits, but your mind lingers on the stare of that very blue toad. Back on the cobblestones, the sunlight hits just right, and your parchment list flutters in the breeze, drawing your eyes to the next item. Quills and ink. Time to find the words that will fill your very first spell book. The shop for writing supplies is tucked between two larger stores, as if it prefers not to be too flashy about its existence. The wooden sign overhead reads, Scribulus, writing instruments, quills, inks, parchments, enchanted stationery. You step inside, and the air smells faintly of cedarwood, dried herbs, and something tangy, like lemon ink left uncorked. The room is quieter than the other shops. Here, even the shelves seem scholarly, the kind of quiet that encourages thought. Rows of quills rest gently in velvet-lined drawers. Some twitch a little when you walk past. One particularly extravagant one, peacock feather, gold-plated tip, turns its nib toward you in what you can only interpret as judgment. You ignore it. Your fingers brush over the more humble ones, sturdy, practical, soft. There's one with a smooth black shaft and a silvery nib shaped like a crescent moon. It doesn't sparkle or preen, but when you pick it up, it settles in your grip like a secret kept warm in a pocket. You nod to yourself. This is the one. You find the inks next. The shopkeeper appears from behind a curtained doorway, a tall wizard with sleeves smudged in purple ink. He's humming something that sounds like a lullaby in Latin. When you ask about beginner inks, he gestures to a display near the window. There's standard black, of course, but also rich emerald, indigo, and something labeled Forget Me ink, a soft pinkish liquid with swirling silver flecks. The tag reads, Words written in this ink are remembered longer. Smells as faintly of cinnamon toast and childhood secrets. You pick up a bottle and pop the cork just slightly. The scent that wafts out does, indeed, smell like something long ago and cozy. Blankets, maybe, a warm kitchen, a thought you forgot you had. You add it to your basket. Next, parchment. Rolls and sheets line the far wall in scrolls tied with string and spools that can be trimmed to your liking. You select a soft cream set with pressed corners and a faint watermark of stars, barely visible unless you hold it to the light. Nearby, you spot a section for novelty items, joke quills that write in riddles, parchment that sings back your essay in operatic tones, and a self-editing ink bottle that sighs loudly whenever it detects a grammar mistake. You're tempted, but remind yourself that Hogwarts professors might not find it as funny as you do. Still, you let your fingers linger over a small notebook bound in soft leather. Its pages are lined with a faint silver thread, and the first page reads, in tiny script, "Write anything you like. I'm listening." You add it to your undle. At the register, the ink bottles line up in neat rows, and the shopkeeper gently tucks them into a padded bag with a few sachets of dried lavender. "Keeps the pages calm," he explains. You thank him and step outside once more, your arms a little fuller and your heart a little brighter. You glance down at your list. Only a few items remain, but the next one catches your eye. Sweets. And right on cue, the wind carries the scent of something warm and sugary down the alley. It wraps around you like a spell cast by someone who really understands comfort. You follow it. The scent leads you to a cheerful storefront with a peppermint-striped awning and windows fogged by the warmth inside. A whimsical sign swings above the door, painted with dancing cupcakes and levitating sugar quills. It reads, "Sugar plums, sweets, and ice cream. A wizard's delight since 1423. You don't need to check your list to know this isn't required. But something in you insists it's necessary. The moment you step inside, the bell above the door sings an actual note. Middle C, you think. The air is thick with warmth, vanilla, melted fudge, and whatever magic makes sweets feel like memories. Rows of jars line the walls, filled with pastel fizz drops, golden toffee, and chocolate frogs hopping in place with soft plops against the glass. You hear the faint flutter of collectible cards inside them, tiny wizard portraits, dozing or sipping cocoa. Behind the counter, an older witch in rose-colored robes offers a smile as warm as the rest of the shop. "First year?" she asks, eyes twinkling. "1 scoop or 2? You blink. "Ice cream." She nods toward a softly glowing cooler. "It's tradition. You know, first Hogwarts trip to Diagon Alley always ends in something sweet." You smile back. 2 scoops. Then she serves you a cone with a flick of her wand. 1 scoop glows gently lilac and fizzes when you breathe near it. Lavender fizz cream. The other is velvety brown and labeled midnight cocoa, said to help with nerves and occasional night before jitters. She sprinkles it with stardust sugar, free of charge. You take your first bite as you wander through the shop, and the flavors burst like soft firecrackers on your tongue, sweet, comforting, and somehow brave. There are shelves of sweets you've only ever read about. Acid pops, carefully sealed. Fudge flies, jelly slugs that wiggle slightly, and a stack of color-changing taffies that blink when they're ready to be eaten. You fill a small paper bag with just enough to share, should you want to, though you're not sure yet with whom. Maybe the boy from the robe shop, maybe a friend you haven't met yet. At the counter, the witch wraps your bag in a charm-sealed ribbon and tucks it into your satchel with a soft hum that sounds suspiciously like a lullaby. "You'll want these on the train," she says. You step outside, lips tingling from the fizz cream, the sun now tilted gold and sleepy. There's a pause in the alley, not silence, exactly, but the hush of satisfaction, like the world exhaling around you. You check your list, only a few things left, and one of them might be waiting behind a secondhand shop with a crooked door that seems to shimmer when you aren't quite looking at it. You turn toward it, curiosity curling like sugar on your tongue. The secondhand shop doesn't have a proper name, at least not one you can find. The wooden sign above the door has been worn smooth by rain and time, and the windows are too dusty to see through. But something about it draws you in, like the hush of an unopened book or the pull of a secret kept for centuries. The door creaks as you push it open. Inside, the shop is dim, quiet, and absolutely brimming with oddities. Not in a cluttered way, more like a museum that's been slightly abandoned, or a storage room belonging to a very forgetful wizard. Shelves sag under the weight of strange instruments, telescopes with cracked lenses, single gloves with no pair, and books with notes scribbled in margins by long-gone students. A quiet chime hums as you enter, and a figure emerges from behind a wall of trunks. The shopkeeper is a man with a long, trailing scarf, half-moon glasses, and the kind of unhurried presence that suggests he has all the time in the world. "Ah," he says, voice like polished wood. "Looking for something specific, or just something curious?" "Just looking," you reply, though you already know that's never how these stories go. You move slowly past a display of used telescopes. One extends with a polite swing. Another emits a faint burp of smoke. A basket nearby holds cracked crystal balls with swirling fog trapped inside them like dreams that never settled. On one shelf, a faded Hogwarts trunk sits with initials you don't recognize. E.T.W.W. You brush a bit of dust off the side and smile. A small leather-bound book catches your eye. You open it to find nothing. Blank pages. Then, as you flip through, faint words begin to bloom across the paper in looping script. "Nice to meet you." You nearly drop it. The shopkeeper chuckles softly. Ah, that one's lonely. Only writes to those who speak gently. You tuck the book under your arm. At the counter, you add a gently scuffed telescope and a soft wool scarf that's threaded with faint, shimmering runes. The shopkeeper wraps everything in brown paper and seals the bundle with a wax stamp bearing a tiny sleeping cat. Outside, the air feels cooler, but in a pleasant way, like you've been somewhere quiet, where things remembered you. You check your list. One last thing. An owl. The Eeylops Owl Emporium is tucked into the far end of Diagon Alley, nestled between a bookbinding shop and a wizarding post office. The display window is darkened, but you can just make out the silhouettes of perched shapes moving slowly behind the glass, tilting heads, flicking feathers, and the occasional glint of a golden eye. As you step inside, the world narrows to shadows and soft, feathery sounds. The air smells of straw, cedar, and something earthy. Rows of owls perch quietly in high wooden cages that tower toward the ceiling. Some sleep, some shuffle, and some watch you as though they already know your name. A chalkboard at the front lists breeds and their typical uses: barn owl, loyal, dependable, screech owl, alert, speedy, tawny owl, good memory, snowy owl, gentle but proud, little owl, small, fast, opinionated. You drift from perch to perch, heart quiet in your chest, waiting, not for the flashiest feathers or the grandest wingspan, but for something else, a feeling, a knowing. One cage, slightly off to the side, holds a single owl, medium-sized, sleek, midnight feathers with pale gray eyes. It's not sleeping or preening. It's just watching. You pause. It blinks. You blink back. There's a quiet beat, like two chords resolving. And then the owl hops once toward the front of the perch. You lean closer. "Likes you," a voice says. The shopkeeper, an elderly wizard in robes embroidered with tiny feathers, steps forward. "Hasn't picked anyone in weeks. Bit fussy, that one." You smile. "I'll take them." He nods and moves gently, murmuring soft spells to lower the cage and wrap the owl in a protective charm for travel. He places the cage into a traveling crate lined with enchanted straw that shifts to keep the owl comfortable. You're given a booklet titled "So Your Owl Disapproves of You," a guide to winning affection. Outside, you pause on the steps, the crate warm against your leg, the owl calm and still inside. You glance down at your list. It's done. Robes, wand, book, cauldron, companion, and a few strange, magical things you have never expected to find. As you walk slowly back toward the Leaky Cauldron, the sky begins to slip into late afternoon. The sunlight drips gold across the cobblestones, and the alley seems a little less crowded, a little softer, like it knows your day is complete. And waiting just ahead, firelight, dinner, and a final evening before the next chapter begins. The Leaky Cauldron welcomes you back like a hearth returning to flame. The alley behind you narrows again, the shops folding into shadow, and the soft murmurs of other shoppers trailing off as the door shuts behind you. Inside, the light is warm and golden, the kind that coats everything it touches in a hush. The scent of stewed vegetables, fresh bread, and wood smoke greets you like an old friend you never knew you missed. You find your way back to the small table near the fire, one someone must have saved for you. Or maybe the cauldron simply knows when you'll return. Your shopping bags rest by your feet in a jumbled pile, books stacked neatly, robes folded, wand case tucked beneath the traveling owl crate. You hear a soft whoo from inside, a sleepy one. Someone brings a plate without you asking. Shepherd's pie, perfectly browned, with buttered peas on the side and a mug of pumpkin juice that warms your fingers. You eat slowly, more from contentment than hunger. Around you, conversations bubble in quiet corners. A pair of witches discussing broom upgrades. An old wizard retelling a story to his soup. A young couple giggling over a map of Hogwarts drawn from memory. The fire crackles nearby. You look down at your list, now tucked into your bag, creased and marked and softly worn. Everything is checked off. You trace a fingertip along the parchment's edge and feel the satisfaction settle in your chest, heavy in the best way. You did it. You're ready. The thought is comforting, but there's a twinge of something else beneath it. Nerves. Maybe. Wonder. The sense that you're standing just before a door and tomorrow it will open. You finish the last bite of pie, then just sit for a while. No rush, no noise, the kind of pause that feels like the last page of a chapter. Later, you make your way upstairs. The hallway to your room creaks gently under your feet. The door opens with a flick of your wand, not out of necessity, but to try. It works, just barely, but it works. Inside, a cozy bed, your bags, and soft candlelight. The owl crate rests on the windowsill, and your new feathered companion is already dozing. You take off your shoes, and you breathe. Tomorrow will be big, but tonight is still yours. The window in your room is slightly open, and a breeze carries in the faint scent of chimney smoke and cool brick. You sit on the edge of the bed, wand in hand, letting the weight of the day settle over your shoulders like a well-worn blanket. It's not heavy in a bad way. It's the kind of tired that comes from wonder, from wide eyes and new things. Your owl shifts in its crate, making a soft, rustling sound, then goes quiet again. You stand and cross to the window, opening it just a little more. Outside, the rooftops of Diagon Alley are softened by the last glow of evening. Lamps float lazily above the cobbled street below, flickering as they guide late shoppers back toward the Leaky Cauldron or home, wherever that may be. You sit back down and untie the ribbon on your wand box. Slowly, you open the lid. The wand lies nestled in its little bed of velvet, quiet but alert, like it knows you're watching. You lift it again, letting your fingers curl around the grain. This time, it doesn't spark, doesn't glow. It just fits, smooth and sure. A knock comes at the door, soft, polite. You open it to find the innkeeper, who offers a folded parcel and a smile. These just arrived for you from the school. Final instructions and your platform ticket. Best not to lose it. You thank them and close the door, turning the parcel over in your hands. Inside are a few final pages of notes, reminders to bring all supplies, wear your school robes, and report to Platform 9 and 3/4 no later than 10:30 a.m. At the very bottom is a card. Thick parchment, gold-inked lettering. Welcome to Hogwarts. Term begins September 1st. You hold the card for a long moment. Then, without really planning to, you begin setting out your things for morning. Robes hung neatly on the chair. Books stacked in the order you'll need them. Wand returned carefully to its box. The little notebook from the secondhand shop lies open on the bedside table. You glance over to find a new message written in delicate script. Sleep well? Big day tomorrow? You smile. Whisper a thank you. Whether it hears or not doesn't matter. Some things are meant to be said. You draw the covers back and climb into bed. The sheets are warm. Your pillow smells faintly of sage and feather down. Your owl lets out one last soft hoo before nestling in for the night. Outside, the wind stirs the alley once more. Inside, you drift. When you wake, the room is still quiet, as if the world is holding its breath just for you. Sunlight creeps through the curtains in long, golden ribbons, brushing against your packed bags, your folded robes, and the parchment envelope resting beside your pillow. You stretch slowly beneath the quilt, still caught in the softness of dreams, unsure for a moment if yesterday had truly happened. Then your owl stirs. It gives a polite rustle of wings and blinks at you through the bars of its crate with that same calm, curious look from before. Right, today's the day. You swing your legs over the edge of the bed and touch the floor with bare feet. The wood is cool. The air smells faintly of toast from downstairs. You dress slowly, carefully. Robes freshly pressed, boots laced tight, wand slid into your inside pocket. Everything feels new, even the air around your shoulders. Your bag waits by the door, heavier than it was when you arrived, but balanced just right on your back. You tuck your Hogwarts letter into the front pouch, along with your platform ticket and the little leather notebook that's now blank again, though it seems to be humming faintly with some kind of quiet excitement. Downstairs, the Leaky Cauldron is already bustling. Other families are finishing breakfast, suitcases tucked beside their chairs. Some kids look nervous, others thrilled. You catch sight of the boy from the robe shop again, sitting with two older siblings who are arguing gently over which house he'll be in. He sees you and offers a nod, a quiet kind of wave that says, "See you there?" You smile back. The innkeeper hands you a warm, buttered roll, wrapped in cloth, and a small flask of tea. "For the train," they say with a wink. "Don't forget your ticket." Outside, Diagon Alley looks different. Not because it's changed, but because you have. You walk its length with a steadier step, a surer gaze. You pass the shops one last time, the spinning sign of Ollivanders, the soft glow of Sugarplum's window, the quiet corner where the secondhand shop sits half in shadow. At the very end, the bricks part once more. The Muggle world greets you like a whisper. Cars, pavement, morning fog. And ahead, the train station. You tighten your grip on your bags and step forward, heart beating just a little faster. King's Cross Station hums with morning movement, rolling suitcases, echoing announcements, footsteps that rush and wander, voices layered like a bustling river. You step inside, clutching your platform ticket tightly, the numbers printed in gold, 9 3/4. Beside you, your owl crate swings gently from its handle, quiet and composed. You scan the tall archways and wide brick walls. Platforms 9 and 10 are right where they should be, but there's no sign of a 3/4 in between. Just a solid brick pillar standing patiently between them. You pause. This is the part they didn't explain much in the letter. But a flash of movement catches your eye. A boy about your age disappearing into the wall, followed closely by a laughing pair of twins dragging a trolley piled with trunks and broomsticks. Then, for just a second, a crimson glow around the bricks, like something flickering beneath the surface. You take a breath. Then, holding your trolley, steady, you walk briskly toward the pillar, head high, pace steady, like it's the most normal thing in the world. And just like that, the wall isn't a wall at all. It opens around you like mist, and the sound that meets your ears on the other side is not of trains or stations or muggles in a rush, but of magic humming in motion. The Hogwarts Express. The scarlet engine puffs gently, waiting beside the platform like a sleeping dragon that dreams in steam. Families cluster nearby, students hugging parents, older siblings rolling their eyes, cats curled in baskets, and owls hooting softly from crates. The air smells of soot and old parchment and anticipation. You find an empty compartment, your trunk heaved into place with the help of a second year who offers a grin and vanishes with a "good luck." Your owl crate rests beside the window, and your satchel finds its spot beside you on the seat. A whistle blows, a soft jolt, and slowly the train begins to move. You lean your forehead against the cool glass, watching the platform slide away. The pillars fade, replaced by open skies and distant hills. You can almost feel the magic stretching ahead of you, waiting to be discovered. In your bag, the little leather notebook stirs again. You open it. 2 words appear. Almost there. You smile and watch the world change color outside your window. The countryside rolls by in waves of gold and green, blurred just enough to feel like a painting in motion. You rest your chin on the edge of the window, eyes half-lidded, watching fields stretch into forests, villages blink by, and the occasional curious cloud drift overhead like it's trying to keep up with the train. Inside your compartment, everything feels suspended, quiet, and safe. You unwrap the buttered roll from the leaky cauldron, still warm in the cloth, and nibble while the train hums beneath you. Occasionally, a vendor trolley squeaks past the compartment door, a kindly witch offers snacks from a tray that practically glows with sugar. Chocolate frogs, cauldron cakes, Bertie Bott's every flavor beans. You politely take a pumpkin, pasty, and smile at the soft crunch it makes as you bite in. Time folds in this space, marked not by clocks, but by the feeling of being carried forward. You spend a while flipping through the books you bought, letting your eyes graze spells and potion names you can't wait to learn. Your wand lies in your lap, unassuming, but ever present. The leather notebook rests nearby, its pages quiet again, but somehow attentive. You stroke the cover with one finger. As the sky darkens, the air takes on a gentle chill. A voice calls down the corridor. "We're nearly there! Robes on!" You reach into your bag and change into your school robes, still crisp, still slightly smelling of new fabric and charm work. You smooth the sleeves and glance at your reflection in the glass. You look different now. Still you, but more so, more filled in. The train begins to slow. Outside, mountains rise in the distance, cradling a dark lake that gleams under the moon. Lights flicker along the shoreline. And there, just for a second, you see the outline of a castle. Not just any castle. Hogwarts. You hold your breath. And then, as the train pulls into the station and the hiss of steam kisses the night air, you know, you've arrived. You step off the train into a world that hums with ancient magic and the promise of something new. The platform is lit by lanterns that bob gently on invisible strings, casting warm pools of light across the stone. Other students gather around, some nervous, some wide-eyed, all quietly buzzing with the same question. What comes next? A figure in a lantern-lit boat waves you forward, and you step carefully into the small vessel, the surface of the lake like polished ink beneath you. The water is still, and the night wraps around you like velvet. The only sound is the gentle lap of the oars. Above, the castle grows closer. It rises from the cliffs like something half-dreamed, with towers that glow and windows that flicker like stars. You tilt your head back, heart fluttering in your chest, not from fear, not even from nerves, just awe. That slow, wonderful kind that fills every inch of you. This is where it all begins, where spells are learned, friendships are forged, secrets are uncovered, and every hallway might lead somewhere you never expected. You close your eyes for just a moment. Breathe. The boat glides forward, and the world falls quiet, just for a heartbeat, like it's holding open a door. Just for you. Welcome home.